Hey folks! It's about that time. We're going to be talking about making Indian food. And we're going to do it live and we're going to do it on this page, Indian as Apple Pie. So thank you for tuning in. It's been a little bit of a busy morning. I will say that I'm kind of excited about these posts because it forces me to really get organized and prep and get going. So the first thing I want to talk about is what we're going to be cooking today, and that is going to be some Palak Paneer. We're not going to make the paneer, we're going to make the Palak. And it's a pretty simple recipe, and there's just a couple of guidelines that you've got to kind of follow along with for it. So on this recipe, we are going to make it in the Instant Pot. So I want to turn my Instant Pot on. I'm going to flip this around to show you what I'm going to be doing. Here we go. We're going to hit saute. And this is my 6-quart Instant Pot. So let's hit saute. And it's on more, which is great. And it's just going to heat up. And there's no lid on it at the moment because we're going to go ahead and saute. See that beep? That just tells you it's on. So no reason to get nervous about it. Thanks for joining, folks. Hi, Tom. And we are going to let it heat up. And as it heats up, I want to talk to you a little bit about Palak versus saag. There's quite a few restaurants, there's quite a few recipes out there in cookbooks, in my fellow cookbook authors' cookbooks, that call saag, and they'll refer to it as saag paneer. Paneer is homemade cheese. Saag versus palak. Palak actually means spinach in Hindi. Saag refers to anything that is not necessarily spinach. It is mustard greens. And if you've grown up as I have, going back and forth to the state of Punjab, that's where I was actually born, my grandfather on my dad's side was a landowner. And we've grown up with the mustard green fields there. You do not combine saag with homemade cheese. Saag on its own is a phenomenal dish. It is not palak. So let's stop making that reference. It's easy to do because it's easier to say almost, saag paneer, but it is not correct. So let's call it Palak Paneer, and we will put spinach in our palak. This recipe is going to incorporate a couple of, hi everybody, thanks for joining. Hi Angela. It's going to incorporate a couple of techniques that I use for my saag, and I'm going to incorporate it into my Palak recipe. Now this is on the saute version of my Instant Pot right there, and it's getting warm. I can kind of feel it. Here we go. It does not say hot yet. I'm going to go ahead and start cooking though because I don't want it to get overly hot. I've run out of vegetable oil, my grapeseed oil. I'm going to use a little bit of olive oil, about 2 teaspoons. I'm going to go ahead and put it right in. If it doesn't get too hot, olive oil should be okay. You got to use what you've got because, yes, we are running out of things and we're going to have to just kind of make do. I'm going to go to my spice tiffin and take my cumin seed, put it right in. Some recipes call for cumin powder. I prefer the seed. I think you get a lot more nutrition out of that seed versus the powder. It lasts a lot longer. Whole spices and seeds can last you a couple years, 3-4 years. Ground spices generally 3 to 4 months. All right, so here we go. It's going, and I'm going to look at my tray. I always prep in a tray. It just makes everything, contains everything, and it makes everything really easy to kind of grab. And because I have to work fast, I'm going to go ahead and answer your questions in a moment if you have any. And I'm going to put that onion in. So it's onion, your basic for most North Indian dishes, onion, ginger, garlic. And I'm going to work right here and go ahead and mix this up. I do not want this to burn because I've been having trouble making this recipe in my Instant Pot. If it was in my slow cooker, which if you have the Indian slow cooker, my first book that we did last year, please go ahead and pull it out for this recipe for Palak Paneer. It is phenomenal in there. I almost just made this recipe in there today, but I thought, let me give it another shot. So we're gonna go ahead and put our ginger and our garlic in and let this continue to heat a bit. That's really all the heat that I need on this. I don't want any more, because any more and I risk, see, it hasn't even hit hot yet. Your indicator will flash hot when it's super, super hot. I don't really want it there. I'm gonna hit cancel. And it's off. So we did the saute on the main ingredients, and that's all I really needed to do. I'm gonna go ahead and put my chilies in. These are chopped green serrano chilies. And we're gonna go, whoops, we're gonna go right in there. And then I'm gonna grab a couple other things. I typically would put tomatoes in to kind of deglaze this pan a little bit, but I don't have tomatoes right now, so tomato paste is gonna do the trick. About 2 tablespoons or so. That's about all that was in here. If I had my other hand free, I'd grab all of that with a silicone spoon or spatula. And we will add all of that before I cook so I don't waste any. And remember too, I'm a big fan of the jarred tomato paste so that you don't waste the can. I tend not to buy things in cans, folks, because of that liner. Glass is really the best way to hold product. And then I love soaking these in some hot water, pulling that label off, and then I use these as spice jars. Reuse your glass if you can. So here's another cool thing. Very great spice to have on hand. This is called fenugreek leaves. Very common in North Indian Punjabi cooking. And it's something that goes into saag, because saag is a mixture of mustard greens, spinach, maybe some fenugreek leaves. And then we cook it down and we eat it just with bread that is made from cornmeal. We do not eat it with roti or with naan usually, but palak we do, or spinach. This fenugreek, the way to use it is to pinch it to release all the flavor. Now, this is something that you are going to have to go until we start selling it. I am kind of considering selling it because it can be a little bit difficult to find. It is called kasuri, K-A-S-O-O-R-I, methi, M-E-T-H-I. Look it up. I will try to post some links to Indian grocers who I like and trust. And if you'd like, you can purchase from them online. And that would be a great way to get some of your Indian specialty products. And there is a Instant Pot cookbook being written, and you're actually a part of it right now. Isn't that cool? So here we go. Let's go ahead and put our kasuri methi, or our fenugreek green leaves in there, dried fenugreek leaves. I want to also talk about this real quick. As we talk about washing our hands, as we talk about maintaining distancing from folks, I want to talk also about keeping your immune system working properly and strong. Bitter foods are fantastic for cleansing your system. Fenugreek is a bitter food. I talk about fenugreek seed and soaking it and then sprouting it and eating that to boost your immune system and improve your digestion. But fenugreek leaves are a different way to use fenugreek. It's a complete different application. Do not substitute fenugreek leaves for fenugreek seeds in a recipe, and vice versa. But it is a great little item, and if you are Indian, you already know about this. Sometimes we just need someone to remind us before we forget, right? So get fenugreek leaves and fenugreek seeds into your day-to-day and into your system. All right, so we've got this in here. Here's another little trick that I use from making saag. I'm going to use a little bit of cornmeal just to thicken it out. I felt like it really needed it in the Instant Pot, just a tiny bit, about a tablespoon is what that was. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in there. And then I'm gonna add some of my other spices. So let's go over to the spice tiffin. Let's go ahead and put a little turmeric. Normally I would heat the turmeric up, but I'm not gonna do that here because I don't want my base to burn too much, because then I'll get that burn indication on my pressure cooker. So let's put some red chili powder. I'm gonna do a heaping teaspoon. I like heat. Yes, I do. All right, let's do garam masala. Any questions, folks, as we go ahead and put all the spices in? All right, so we've got the garam masala in there. We've got our red chili. We've got our turmeric. And now we're gonna give it a little bit of a mix. Let's get my spoon, my spatula rather, and just give it a mix. This is off. We've already done the saute. I do not want this burning because I'm having so many problems with that burn setting going off. So you're really watching the progression of this Instant Pot cookbook, future cookbook. And there's a lot of Indian Instant Pot cookbooks out there. They're pretty good. But what I'm finding they're lacking or they're missing is really deep, deep flavor sometimes. And then also quantity. I like to make larger batches of things. And case in point, my spinach recipe. This is a pound of spinach, thereabouts. It is about 10 cups, and I'm just gonna go ahead and put it right in. It's already washed, and I didn't even chop it or anything like that. I'm just gonna go ahead and put it in. Now, if you are making saag, this would be mustard greens, as well as other greens, bitter greens. Oh my gosh, that would be so good to make right now to help just kind of give your immune system a nice boost. And I'm gonna go ahead and push this down. And I just haven't been able to find mustard greens in the store, but you could use other greens like dandelion greens are great to mix in. Those are great bitter foods. You could use, oh, I forgot to put my hing in, my asafoetida. Let's go ahead and just give it a sprinkle now. It's okay if it's going in after the fact. I washed the spinach. It's been sitting out this morning, all prepped and ready to go. So the liquid in here is really just the clean liquid with a little bit of the nutrients. Let's pour that in as well. And now it's important to add in some water because you are pressure cooking this. You need to have a half cup to a cup of water. I do think a cup is safer than a half cup on this amount of product. So let's go ahead and just pour that in, that cup. And I forgot one ingredient. How about some salt, folks? Let's do, look at my spice tiffin is so messy today, isn't it? So 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 and 2. Other recipes often call for a little less salt. I will tell you something, you will end up putting more salt in. I'd rather tell you truthfully how much salt we use, because then on your end, once you get the flavors right in terms of what we eat in our cuisine as Indians or Indian Americans, then you can tweak the salt on your end. If you're making this recipe at home, pull back a little bit on the salt. I'm going to push this down a bit because we really do not want anything going above that PC max line, which is right here. But remember too, these are all veggies and they're going to really just kind of cook down. So we're going to be okay, probably. This is going to cook for 4 minutes. So let's go ahead and put the lid on. No one's got questions today? Come on, folks. Valve's going to go back so that it is closed. And look, The little valve is down. That means that it's not on. Totally safe. The lid is closed, and we're gonna go ahead and hit pressure cook on high. So see, it's already on high. See how it changes there? It goes less, normal, more. I want more rather. Less, normal, more. And then pressure level is where you get low and high. I want it on high, I want it on more. I'm gonna hit 4 minutes. Remember, it has a memory, so whatever you use last is what's gonna pop up there. And we're gonna just let it go ahead and cook for 4 minutes. But remember, pressure cookers are not instant, even though this is called the Instant Pot. Awesome, brilliant marketing, right? Because now it's gotta warm up. It will take a couple minutes to warm up. It will take that 4 minutes to cook, and then it will take a few minutes to cool down. You could have as much as I've had 30 to 40 minutes cooling down. You can manually release the valve if you want to speed up the cool down process, but sometimes with certain grains and beans, you don't necessarily want to do that either. So that's okay. So we're gonna go ahead and let it do its thing, but know that it's not magic, it's not instant. The key though, it does cook about 70% faster because of the pressure that's built up in your pressure cooker, and also it's all hands-free. So honestly, I can walk away and never have to go back. Latasha, hi, how are you? Is that kosher salt? Is what I think your question is. It is kosher salt, finely ground. It is regular white salt, not the black salt, because that would give you a different taste profile, and I just want to use a very clean salt. I'll tell you, the salt that I really love, and I haven't been able to get it in the market lately, is out of Utah. It's called it's called real salt, and I like the fine grind on it. I sometimes will take a larger grind on the salt, and I go ahead and take it through my my spice grinder, or my coffee grinder reserved for spices. So that is pretty much what we've done today. Is we have, and let me flip the camera. All right, sorry, we blipped for a second, but we're making palak in the Instant Pot. And remember, some people like to refer to it as, I'm trying to get good lighting here, it's hard because it's so overcast in Chicago today. Some people like to refer to it as saag paneer. Saag to a Punjabi, somebody from North India, which is where I'm from, my family hails from, is mustard greens. We are notorious for growing beautiful fields of green mustard greens with yellow flowers. That's what you see in all of the Hindi movies. And we do not refer to spinach as saag. Saag is always a bitter green mustard combined with maybe a little bit of spinach, combined with some fenugreek leaves. I am making a straight palak. Palak is spinach, so let's refer to it as palak paneer. The paneer is the homemade cheese. We'll add that at the end. So this is going to go ahead and cook up, and I'm hoping that this will be okay. I've had trouble with my recipe in the Instant Pot. I don't know if any of you have over the last couple times that I've cooked it, where it'll flash burn on it because there's not enough moisture in there. So I doubled up on the moisture this time around to a cup to see how that would work. All right, how's everybody doing? Anybody, any other questions? Yes, this is a North Indian dish, and it is phenomenal. What you'll do once you're done cooking it, though, I just want to let you know, is maybe I'll take a video of that as well. We'll just kind of take the inner pot and we'll tilt it to its side, and we'll take an immersion blender and we'll put it right in there, and we'll just kind of blend it down. My family is going to be a little upset with me because I made a huge batch of this yesterday, and that's what we had for dinner. But when I recipe test, I make the same thing like over and over and over again. So that's probably what we're going to have for dinner again tonight. So my family gets tired of the same old thing, but that's really how it goes when you're testing recipes. Does anybody do anything? A lot of you that are watching are Desi, are Indian. Is there something interesting that you do at home with your Palak Paneer by chance? I'm just curious. Another thing to also add to that, if you do not want to eat dairy and paneer is not one of your go-to proteins, take a firm or extra firm tofu. I bake it in the oven. There's tips on how to do that on my website. You can just, in the search button, type in tofu or baked tofu, and I will bake it down, and that gives me the correct consistency to be able to then cube it and then mix it in at the end instead of a dairy. So part of my family likes to eat the dairy. I prefer to go and lean towards the baked tofu, and I gotta say, most people don't even know the difference half the time. So that might be a nice alternative to kind of lighten it up. Maybe you mix it up, a little paneer, a little bit of the baked tofu as well. All right, so that is what I'm up to today, my Palak Paneer dish in the Instant Pot. I will share the recipe if this turns out right. I've got another 2 huge bags of spinach in the fridge, and I will be using that as well to test recipes. And thank you, somebody just said that they add a pinch of sugar to retain the color. That's a great idea. As a Punjabi, we don't add sugar into our fiery, spicy dishes. We just don't like that sweet taste profile at all, but it's a neat idea. I might try it. I've never had problems with retaining the color, but that might be something to try. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can do this with frozen spinach, and so you've got those packets of frozen spinach. That may also be where you want to kind of add the sugar to retain the color, because it can, because it's frozen, not be as bright green. If you don't want to do this in the Instant Pot, do it on the stovetop. This will cook up in like 15 to 20 minutes because spinach cooks so quickly that you could do it in a big Dutch oven and cook it all down if you'd like. It is amazing. Another thing that I do to get a little bit more of that fresh spinach without telling my family is once it's cooked, especially in the Instant Pot or otherwise, I'll take some fresh spinach and add it in there, shut the lid, and let it steam for a minute or two, so you've got kind of like that raw spinach in there too, and then I'll grind it down. So an immersion blender is a great tool, about $30, that will save you a ton of time. You can also scoop it out and put it into a blender if you don't have an immersion blender. All right, folks, that was your tip for the day. I've got to run because I have to go to my storage unit and get some orders together. And Latasha, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you've got some frozen spinach to use up. Take a picture and tell me how dinner was. And I hope that inspires you to get your Indian on today. And we will have the Punjabi dance party. Maybe next time, folks, I just have some Punjabi Bhangra music playing in the background. And then whoever wants to go ahead and do a little dancing on the side, Tom is definitely going to be up for that. They certainly can. And Tom, thank you for the note. Yes, frozen spinach will give you a little extra water, and that's why you probably want to pull back if you're doing it in the Instant Pot, which you really don't need to because it's frozen and it will cook so fast. You pull back on the water. If you're doing it on the stovetop, let it cook with the lid off to really absorb or evaporate some of that water. Paul, great question. Kale is used. Typically, kale would be used for saag. So you'd mix it in with a mustard green and with some of that fenugreek greens or leaves, dried leaves that I showed you. But if you'd like, make it half and half in terms of half spinach, half kale. That would be delicious. Use whatever you've got on hand. I'm going to flip the camera and show you something. Just because some of you are newer to the Instant Pot. So all that time we were talking, it was warming up. It is now cooking. So that's why the Instant Pot and pressure cookers are not instantaneous. They're more hands-free, quicker cooking. It will now cook for those 4 minutes, and then it will need to cool down. All right? Okay, folks, I think I got all the questions. I can answer more. Latasha, I missed you too. I hope you're doing well. I hope everyone's staying safe. Remember, these foods are great immune boosters. You gotta make sure that your immune system is very strong at this time and do whatever you can to help that. Oh, here's something that I just made this morning, just so you know. I made a batch of broth because my kids love tortellini in broth, in broto, as I used to make or used to eat in Italy when we were there a couple summers ago. So I just did a big batch of homemade vegetarian broth, and this is how I did it. Just so you know, I use my pasta insert, and that's where all the veggies are, and I used mushroom, carrot, sweet potato, white turmeric. I had some fresh white turmeric on hand. I did put some ginger in there and some garlic and some celery, and there you go. And so I just put in about 21 cups. I know, most recipes call for 7 cups. I think that's a waste of time because we go through so much. 21 cups. I filled my kettle 3 times. That's 7 cups in there. 7 times 3, 21 if I got my math right. And I let it simmer for 20-25 minutes. Then I just pulled that insert out, let it drain obviously, and took it right to my sink, and it's sitting right there. And rock and roll. Tom, you can absolutely use coconut milk, but that is not then a standard North Indian curry, but that's okay. It's still delicious. Make it your own. And Madhumita, you said, sorry, you missed the beginning. How are you cleaning my how am I cleaning my greens during this time? You know, just a ton of water. And look, I have a very deep pot that I wash them in. Even if the packaging says triple clean, I'm still cleaning everything and washing it. I usually do that anyway. And you could put actually a half a lemon, fresh lemon, into your water because that can help too. And I just let it sit for a couple minutes, and then I drain it on my countertop with a nice big cloth underneath it to kind of collect all that. And that's pretty much what I do. All right. Good stuff, folks. All right, keep cooking, keep eating well, stay healthy. We got to make sure that we are sticking together during this crazy, crazy, crazy time. And I'll post another recipe tomorrow. And I kind of wanted to keep chatting. I'm droning on because I wanted to catch this. That's how long it took to cook, folks. And it will turn off. See, it's just at 1 minute. It's going to turn off and then cool down for a couple minutes, and then we're ready to go, and we've got dinner already ready for this evening. The problem is in my house, this is what we ate last night, so I'm gonna have to make something else for the hubs and the kids, unfortunately. All right, bye everybody. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll talk again soon.